Hey, it's Issa with Journey to Programming. What I want to see or talk about today is adding the text messaging feature to your software applications. And the way I recommend doing it is using Twilio or some of the other services that are available out there that can integrate with your software using their own API and then allow you to send text messages to any of the carriers out there. And it's pretty awesome. So I know Twilio is the one I'm going to focus on right now because I've worked with their API before. I believe it's a penny per text message and then 2 cents if you want to add in an image or media to that text message. But let's check it out, actually. I don't remember the exact pricing, so let me actually pull that up. So Twilio, let's take a look. And the way I used it, to be quite honest, is I included it into a Unity 3D software application. So I was using C# to do it. And I included the software in my C# application, but what I ended up doing afterwards, because at my company we wanted to reuse the same functionality in a couple of other projects, is we actually broke that functionality out into a Python script that did the exact same thing. And what we do is we call the Python script from C#, basically using a command line command, and we're calling that command line bat file, which then calls the Python script, which submits the actual request to Twilio that sends the SMS for you, okay? Or the MMS, depending on if you're sending multimedia with it, all right? And let's check it out really quickly. I'm curious what the current pricing is because we're currently charging a client for that, so it doesn't necessarily affect me. Okay, so it looks like normal SMS is actually 3/4 of a penny. That's not bad. I think there are some services out there that are a little bit cheaper, but you're not going to find anything cheaper by much. That's the big thing. Unless you're sending out like 500,000 messages, I think, where you start getting the group discounts, you don't get a huge discount in general. So let me go ahead and zoom in. I always forget to do that and give you guys a little bit more clarity here. And you can see for just straight SMS, you're looking at 3/4 of a penny. That's not too bad. Let's take a look at the details here because I believe an image will cost 2 cents. So here you go, picture images, 2 cents to send, and they do charge you to receive messages using that number too. So let me tell you really quickly how these services work. So if you're just sending text messages, basically you create an account on Twilio, you get to choose a phone number, you do have to pay for that phone number. I believe it's a monthly or an annual fee, and it's nominal, very low. You can pick the area code you want it to send from, and the actual number you can choose from a list. So basically you're paying for an actual phone number. And then when you're ready, if you're just sending a text message, all you're doing is you're sending out a HTTP request to their server. What's going to happen from there, you have your specific Twilio ID key for because you can add multiple projects onto your Twilio account in case you're a large vendor or a software company that has multiple clients. We make a project for each one of our clients, and then we have an authentication key and token that is associated with that project. We put that into our request, and then we actually pass in the text for our text message in that request. That comes into Twilio's actual backend. And then from their backend, what happens is they add it to a text messaging queue. And they do that to ensure that it doesn't flood the carrier's actual protocols or the carrier's restrictions for SMS or MMS, because each carrier has a restriction on how quickly you could send out text messages or multimedia messages. So Twilio handles that by accepting your request and then putting it into a queue and then submitting those actual messages to the carrier or through the carrier at a kind of defined time per each message sent. So kind of like a recoil. If you guys make video games and you want to put time between each firing of a weapon in a game, or if you're somebody that has weapons, you know what recoil is, but there's like a refresh time between it. So there is a delay that they handle, but it's all on their side. That actually adds to the reliability of the message sending. And once it's been received, they do give you a response feedback to determine if the message has been received. And then they also, I believe, can provide you a hook, which will then tell you if it's been sent successfully. Now, what I've found with Twilio is it's very reliable, but some issues do occur. Sometimes when you're sending a text message or something like that, an error can occur in the actual sending of the message. Perhaps the endpoint, so the other number you're sending the message to, that phone number or that phone is turned off, or it turned out to be a house line. Those cannot receive the messages, so then it will return an error, and that could be an issue. But it's pretty rare when that happens, okay? And again, I think that Twilio is a pretty good service. Let's see if there's any other good text messaging services out there. So let's see. Actually, before we do that, let's take a quick look at the API reference. So I mentioned we did this originally in C#, and it's just sending out a request, really easy stuff. You can test it in Visual Studio really quickly, or you can use any other language really out there. We used Python for our end product because we're reusing the same source code for multiple projects now, and we didn't want it to be the hard-coded R&D work we were doing with C# at first. And what we do, again, we call a command line, just a bat script, which then calls the Python file, passes in the parameters and the text and images, and that's what submits it. Oh, okay, so one big thing I want to make sure you guys know, because we send a lot of multimedia messages with images in them, is in order to send an image through Twilio's API, you have to not pass in that image to Twilio, not as a file for them to upload. You have to pass them a URL to a file which you are hosting or is hosted on a server, okay? So the way we do it is we have an Amazon S3 bucket, which when we're uploading, when we're sending a text message, we first upload our image to the S3, and then we get the URL that the S3 bucket has for that image with its file name extension appended onto it. And then we pass that URL into our Twilio request, and that's how our image gets attached. One way that I did test is if you guys want to play around with like Google Drive, you guys could make that a test kind of platform. You can add it into a Google Drive, make the image completely public, and then use that URL just for testing purposes. The other way you can do it is you can, if you have your own server, you can write a quick API to allow you to upload images into a specific folder. And then if you want to make sure that that's working, then you can just check out the server through a SSH session into your server, check the files. Or if you use FTP, you can use an FTP server or something like that. Or you can just upload images from an FTP server if you don't need those images to be dynamic, right? The other option is there's a ton of other servers out there other than AWS. There's Google Cloud Services. You can go on DigitalOcean and spin up a server there and just use some space on those. The reason we went with Amazon is because it just lets us have a storage bucket online, which is great, and it's really, really fast. It's awesome like that. And their settings allow you just to automatically set them to delete the images recurringly, and that's what we needed in our project. So again, I think that covers actually all the high-level functionality for adding text messaging into your projects. But now, how do you choose which text messaging service to use? We chose Twilio again because we did some research on a few different services out there. And Twilio just seemed very reliable. The prices seemed to be pretty good for what was being offered. And I had taken a look at some of the other ones, and MMS messages were all around the same price. So taking a look at Textedly, let's see what they offer. Let's see. Billed monthly, it looks like they do SMS and MMS. That's good. Let's see if they list their MMS pricing. So I'll tell you right now, one of our applications uses about 1,000 messages a day, okay? And that's not a huge number, actually. A lot of companies out there probably hit into the 5 digits, 6 digits range on sending messages. Ours sends about 1,000. It's actually around 1,200 usually. And then every now and then it'll drop to about 950, 960. So let's see, this one allows 1,000 messages per month. If we're going at about 1,200 per day, we're looking at about 30K per month. So let's see what this includes. Does this include MMS? So it allows you to send, okay, so it does allow you to send pictures. The pricing for this is $275 per month. It's a little shy of what I would need, so we would have to step up to the next tier. $550 a month. Let's do a quick calculation on how much it actually cost us using Twilio. So we saw that it was 2 cents per message being sent out. That's $1,200 per day approximately, times about, let's say, 30 days a month. So we're currently going to be paying about $720 a month for this service. Of course, that scales depending on how many messages you send. This one just gives you a huge lump sum, which is kind of cool. But ours is on usage. So far, it's been running for about 2 weeks. We've been seeing about $1,200 a day. Now, if that drops drastically, because this is kind of a traveling event that our setup is in, if that drops drastically, then we're not going to get charged for a 50K allotment or something like that. Then again, they may set this up so you can purchase 50K, but maybe you don't use. If you use less than 25, it automatically downgrades you. I don't know if they do that. Also, if you do 25, maybe it automatically upgrades you if you go over that. That'd be kind of cool if they did, but who knows? But this actually doesn't seem bad. I've never heard of them, but it looks like Jersey Mike's use them. That's cool. Let's check out another provider. Let's see if there's another good one on here. Easy texting. All right. So let's see how much they charge. Again, we went with Twilio. They're a huge company. I've talked to them before at conferences, so I knew who they were. Also, our company wanted somebody really reliable that they could basically know for a fact was going to be good. Let's see what these guys charge. So easy texting. Also, I don't know what these guys' API is like. Twilio's so big that I kind of trust their API. Kind of. Never trust anybody's API fully. Just remember that. You never know when they're going to change it on you. And when they change it, it's going to break your application, especially if it's out in release on the field and it's being used. Oh, that's horrible. Who did that recently to us? Weather Underground. You guys changed your API. We had some applications in the field for years. And then you guys deprecated the entire API. Yeah, that sucked. So now we have to go back and find a new API to use and all right, anyways, easy texting. Let's take a look. So we ran our numbers. I said we send around 30,000, a little bit more since we have the extra 200. We were doing about 1,200 every month, but let's just make it 30K. Whew, this company's expensive. The other one was offering, what, 550? Is that what we said? Let's go back here. $550 a month. This company's asking for $2,000. 3.25 cents per minute. Why? Why? Did they not realize Twilio offers it for 2 cents? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I'm going to completely just close our website. Anyways, I think that covers it. We discussed it at a high level. If you want to add text integration into your software, you can definitely do it with websites or services like Twilio's or the other one I just closed on you. It was Textedly. It looks like they're a pretty big company too, or at least they're reliable. They've got a whole bunch of big names as their clients, like Chick-fil-A, Yankees, GoDaddy, Lyft. So I assume they're pretty reliable. It's fairly easy to integrate. I know Twilio was. I haven't worked with Textedly before. And if you use C#, you can probably integrate directly with your C# application with all of them, but I know you can in Twilio. I know you can use Python as well. You will have to set up a server or some kind of bucket, some cloud storage systems for images that you want to send. That's not too complicated to do if you have any experience doing AWS kind of infrastructure setup and administration. Or if you want to experiment with using a Google Drive, you could probably do it in there too. So yeah, I think that covers it. If you guys have any questions or any kind of feedback or critique about this, or maybe if you guys know of another text messaging service that you prefer, please do post them down below. I know Twilio is a big one, and maybe it's not your favorite, but they also offer a handful of other cool services. If you guys go to their website, you can check them out. I'm not sponsored by them at all, although if they want to sponsor me, Twilio, check me out. Subscribe. Have a good one, you guys.